shit.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it.
So I think with cold approach, we talk a lot about what we do, but I think what's also important is what we don't do. I think the four of us forget about how debilitating approach anxiety is for so many men. And so my buddy Orion Teraband, Psychex, he says it the best. He says, when you think about rejection, you think it's three pieces. It's personal, it's painful, and it's permanent. And the reality is, how can it be personal? She doesn't even know you. It's not personal, right? It's not permanent. She won't she won't remember you the next day. And it's painful. But after 100 occurrences, it's just data points. It should just be data points in your mind. Bulzarian, I love his quote, man, and Marcus has heard it. It just pretend she has chlamydia. It's so true, bro. Like, imagine if a girl had chlamydia, would you like hug her and do all this like overtly sexual things in the beginning? No, you wouldn't. So for me, it's the desensitization, like what Austin says. I like to be desensitized to it. The way you get desensitized to rejection is just by doing it over and over again, and then you get into a flow. It really is the boring answer. Like, getting over approaching anxiety is really just the boring answer. And you do that for a while, and then you go out, and then you kind of figure out, what your voice is. To me, the hardest thing, and yet the most important thing, is charisma and humor, and also a speaking voice to where you give yourself permission to be louder than whatever environment you're in. You guys know I really love nightclubs, and a lot of people hate nightclubs. I love them. The louder, the better, because for me, those barriers, like the ropes, the security guards, the flashing lights, the smoke, the bottles, all that kind of stuff, those barriers, they make it better for me when I'm in the VIP, because it makes it harder for other guys to get up there. So I like nightclubs. I like those barriers, but I have to give myself permission to be louder than whatever music is playing. And part of doing that, a lot of guys don't want to do that. And where does that come from? I think it's from being desensitized, like you said before, and also giving yourself permission, learning to give yourself permission, understanding that any rejection you get is just feedback. Like, if a girl rejects you, that doesn't mean anything. But if like 5 or 10 girls keep telling you your breath stinks, that's data that you should take in and then also reevaluate. The other thing is, Alex, I think the OODA loop, a lot of guys don't have the ability to take feedback. Every guy I've ever met and every guy I've ever met thinks he can shoot 3-pointers. They all think they can fight, and they all think they're good in bed. Every single fucking one of them, and they don't take any feedback. And so this is one of these situations where when you give them feedback on something that's very personal, like talking to women, and they don't want to hear it, it's sometimes you have to just the guy has to be willing to say, hey man, maybe I'm doing something wrong. So I think that's probably the most important thing. I think if you just approached a bunch and got over your approach anxiety, eventually it's just, you're going to get so much feedback, you're going to improve from that. But it is the boring answer. You just do more. Just like weightlifting, you just do more. Just like your diet, you just do the same thing, the right thing every day. And then eventually those things come to fruition.
One interesting thing to just observe is, have you guys ever seen like hot girls deal with rejection for the first time in their lives? I've been having some of this happen because I've been collabing with various female content creators for street interviews. And I remember this was one, you guys can probably figure out who it is, but I'm not going to give away her name. This hot blonde chick, or relatively hot with big boobs. And she's been on the speed dating show before, and we did street interviews, and she got rejected. Like, she came in there all bubbly. She got rejected 2 or 3 times, and she started I could just see her state just crashing. After like 10 or 11, because each rejection, she became more and more meek. And then by like the 11th, 12th rejection, she just quit on the spot. She had a meltdown. Then she tried to blame it on me. I can't believe you made me do this. This is horrible. And she just like ran away, essentially.
Yeah. Have you seen that video where a girl, she tries to manage a Hinge account for her guy friend who's a 6, and she's like, after doing this for 2 days, I already hate women. She goes like, I'm like swiping right on the 2s, and they're like rejecting me. And she's like, what is it, dude? I got 130,000 views on this video. I just reacted to it just randomly, and it just really hit a chord with a lot of guys. You're right, they don't deal with rejection. Here's another thing, Alex. This is just anecdotal. I'm not saying I have any proof for this. I do think this is another thing that happens when you and a girl break up for whatever reason. She breaks up with you, you break up with her. I think she needs you to take some kind of L. Like, she needs you to either date someone not as hot as her, or not make more money than her next boyfriend, or some kind of L. And when you don't take any L, like you just fucking go off and you completely do better, that's a form of rejection I think a lot of women can't handle, because I forgot who said this to me. They were like, anytime when a woman rejects you or chooses, someone else other than you, she's shorting your stock. So just imagine if you shorted stock like GameStop and then the stock goes up to the moon, you would lose a ton of money. I think women really, when they choose one guy over another, the guy that they passed over, when he does really well, that's a form of rejection that I really see women not being able to handle. That's when I have some clients, they'll fix their social media and they'll have pictures of them out with a bunch of hot girls or whatever. And they'll get messages from their ex-girlfriends who cheated on them being like, you've changed. I don't like this stuff that you're posting. So I do feel like that's another form of rejection women can't handle, is like when they chose the wrong guy or they dump the wrong guy and that guy's supposed to take the L and he doesn't. And I think for me, that's a great motivation to stay in the gym every day and just keep working on yourself.